I became a Christian in 1988, and I thought that that time that had found the meaning of life, and that I was on the right track from that point forward. And in 1996, I went through something that really tested my faith, tested my whole bunch of things about myself. My marriage fell apart, and I lost a job, all in close proximity. And it was a lesson for me to learn to lean on God. And I thought I was doing that, but it was the real lesson was God telling me that I needed to put my faith, my dependence, my self-esteem, my value in Christ, in God, rather than in circumstances, in relationships, in jobs. I know that men have a way of looking to their vocation for self-esteem, and all those things fell apart in 1996. When I point to the time of the most serious spiritual growth I've ever had, that was the time that I was challenged the most, and I felt like I grew the most, and made a big difference in my life. Since that time, when bad things happen, I've learned that I don't think those things are God's will necessarily, although I know God does what He wants, basically. But I've learned that even when bad things do happen, a lot of times it's how you respond to them. And I've learned that a lot of times the way we can respond to bad things is to reach out to other people who are going through those things that we've gone through, and we can make a difference in their lives. We can share Christ, we can encourage, we can do a lot of things that allow us to use our experience to benefit others. I think God's allowed me opportunities like that to talk to people who are going through marriage difficulties, talk to men who were dealing with the loss of a job or the loss of their relationship, and maybe felt like the world was falling in around them, which is basically how I felt. I've always said that you don't have to go hunting for ministry opportunities. If you keep your eyes open, you'll see them, you'll run across them. Many times that has occurred, and I've felt like I've had the opportunity to help people deal with situations on several occasions. So God allowed me to experience these things, if you will, and then in turn I had the responsibility to reach out to people who are going through those. And I think that carries over into a lot of other things as well. I mean, who would understand somebody who loses a child better than someone who's lost a child? Who would understand somebody who is going through a divorce better than somebody who's gone through a divorce? I just think that's God's way. I think it's His will, His way, that we respond from these things, and we all have different circumstances. Well, before I went through that year, 1996, that very difficult year, I felt like I was putting my trust in God. I felt like my faith was in God. But until I went through those trials, I didn't really understand what it meant to put your hope in Christ. I was still putting my hope in my relationship, my job, circumstances. And I didn't realize it until those things were yanked out from under me. And that's when, over a very difficult period of time, it didn't happen overnight, but a time of prayer and a time of tears and time of depression, if you will, where I just cried out to God and on a daily basis, and just reached out and just was desperate for God. That I felt like He spoke to me, and I learned those lessons, and I felt like that made a big difference in my faith and in my walk.